Hi, I'm Marcel James. Welcome to The Pulse. Today I'm going to tell you a pretty interesting story about my own efforts to reverse aging, slow down aging, whatever you want to call it. But now we're talking about the human clock, the biological clock specifically, and the experiences that I've gone through over the past couple of years and some huge information, fact-finding things that happened over the past couple weeks alone. So it just inspired me to share this story and sort of warn you about some pitfalls out there that I found along the way, save you some possible severe frustration that apparently thousands of people are taking supplements that are not at all what they're labeled as. So bottom line is, a couple years ago, I was feeling really old, looking old, tired. I had sort of resigned myself to looking older. I can show you some pictures here, um, but the worst part was feeling older because I have two young sons. They're now 10 and 7, so that would have made them 8 and 5 at the time, and they're getting into tennis. We all play tennis, and I was having to hire coaches, to hit with them and train them because I just didn't have the energy level or the physical ability to run around the tennis court for like an hour or two, multiple times a week. So I was frustrated. I was going through a lot of pain. I was trying to play tennis. One of the coaches for my sons kept pulling me out on the court and said, "You come, you hit too." So I'd bring my racket with me. And, just like my heart would start beating fast. I'd start to feel like I was going to have a heart attack or something. I wasn't in good shape, but I also just didn't feel well. But I kept playing tennis. And the recovery time after playing, once I was able to play a set, would be like 3-4 days. I'd be sore. I could barely walk the next day. So it's just really tough. And I'm like, wow, this is what getting old feels like. And it was frustrating, to say the least. I don't know any other way to put it. So one day I got online and I Googled, because I'd heard rumors of anti-aging things or supplements or regimens. And I thought, I wonder if there's something out there. And keep in mind, I've never done well with supplements. I used to try to take ginseng, and it always made me feel really edgy. So bottom line is, I found out about a lab at Harvard run by a professor, a doctor his name is David A. Sinclair. I watched a bunch of interviews with Dr. Sinclair. I read a bunch of stuff online, and I cannot recommend enough if you're curious at all about the state of the science of anti-aging and where we are. He's at the absolute forefront of this, or among the scientists at the forefront, one of Time Magazine's most influential people. I mean, he's just and he's been written about in Popular Mechanics and just all kinds of reputable, credible. Besides the fact that he is a tenured professor with his own lab at Harvard for over 15 years. I think he's been there 20 years. So very intelligent guy, but very down-to-earth kind of speaker. And, he's found these compounds, namely the two main ones are resveratrol, which was years ago. You may have heard about it in some news media stuff that was covered about it because it exists naturally in grapes and red wine and, of course, and nuts and different berries. And so basically what he's taking himself and has tested extensively on yeast cells and mice, is giving them resveratrol in a more concentrated form. You would have to drink like 1,000 glasses or 10,000 glasses of wine to get as much as you'd take from, one of these little tablets or little pills. And you take the compound, you put it in a fatty source because it's like crushed brick. It doesn't absorb very well. So they found that it's better to take with olive oil or yogurt. I started taking it 2 years ago with yogurt, a fatty Greek yogurt, and I've just started feeling better immediately. I said I'm very sensitive to supplements and allergenic things, and this is from a plant, so I assume there's no difference there. As a matter of fact, I had like slight cold symptoms for about a week when I first started taking it, but I kind of persevered through it because I was feeling benefits at the same time. And I got over those symptoms, and I started just feeling, I would say, 30% better than I was. Maybe instead of recovering from tennis in 3 or 4 days, it took me a day. So I was feeling definite improvements and happy, I have to say. Then last year, I started to, with COVID, I never had COVID symptoms, maybe some mild cold symptoms, but I never tested positive at all until now, knock on wood, with Delta variant going around. Then last year, last fall in October, the other compound that you find talked about a lot and is actually said to have more benefits is called NMN. And MNN, I'll put the real description, the medical description of how to pronounce the name for the actual compound or molecule. But it is, I'll put it in the description, but it is something that has increased your NAD levels, which go away after age 50. They diminish starting at 40 and then keep diminishing at 50. And it's able to replenish these NAD plus levels in your cells and repair the cells. And they found this to be the case with different tests that they've done, and at Harvard and elsewhere, by the way. And but it's very expensive. It used to be totally prohibitively expensive, but as more and more people have inquired about it, the prices have slowly started to come down. But sourcing it is very tricky because it's not considered a food. It's not considered nutritional. It's not considered something you could take as like a medical substance or a food substance. So it's not regulated. So there's a bunch of fake products out there. And that's really the crux of the story I want to share with you today, how easily you can get duped, and how, first and foremost, if you don't watch much more, definitely do not order NMN on Amazon. I'm going to give you some very specific reasons why you don't want to do that at all. I don't care, what it costs. I don't care how cheap it is. It's fake, and I've gone to labs to test things. So, be advised, do not order NMN cheaply. It is not cheap. It costs money. It is expensive to manufacture. It's only manufactured in China, which causes a lot of this trouble ordering it. That's why you have to order it from someone reputable. I'm going to give you a couple options that I know are reputable, but I would be very, very careful if you decide to do what I'm doing. Now, why take the NMN? I was already having improvements with Resveratrol. Well, if my improvements of feeling better were 30% with Resveratrol alone, I would say the improvements increased to like 90% with the NMN. I felt like a new person. I felt better than I had since I was 25, 30 years old, at least. I really, really felt better once I started taking NMN. Made a big impact on my life. And matter of fact, from October to December, I just kept feeling better and better and better, more focused, more energy, exercising better, losing weight because of the exercise, I assume. Looking better. I randomly saw myself in the mirror one day, and then I started looking at selfie pictures, and I started taking more what I considered my after pictures. I started taking these randomly because I could see the differences, and I was just stunned with the differences from like 2018 to 2020 at the time. And then in December, I recorded 5 full complete songs. I'm a musician. I used to write a lot when I was in my 20s and 30s, but that kind of tapered off as my energy level to be in the studio, because when I come up with a song idea, I like to finish it. You're talking about 8-10 hours sometimes in the studio, sometimes less, sometimes more. And it just requires a level of focus I just haven't had in probably a decade or two at least. And so now I'm feeling better. Athletically, I'm doing better. Physical appearance wise, I'm clearly looking at before and after pictures and looking better, and I'm actually getting better output. In December or January, I was ordering the first NMN on Amazon, naively. And fortunately, I was getting great results with what I was taking. It was more expensive. I ordered a cheaper one. Turns out, come to find out much later, that was not an actual NMN. Don't know what was in it. I didn't feel as good as I did from October to December, but I still felt pretty good. January, I wasn't writing songs anymore. Didn't have the same focus, but I still felt like maybe 50% better. I thought maybe I'd plateaued. I thought maybe I just didn't add it up. I never thought there'd be fake NMN, literally fake NMN listed on Amazon.de, shipped to my house from Amazon. It could just never cross my mind for a second. until I posted one of these before and after pictures about 10 days ago. And I got like an overwhelming response from people and lots of questions about what I'm actually taking, and just it was fun. I just did it for fun because I was amazed by the before and afters. I thought other people may get a kick out of it, and they did. There were over 200 likes, and then people were asking me what I'm taking, so I put the links up. They're Amazon links. Like within an hour, my post was removed. It was erased. I'm like, where'd all the fun go? Where'd all the likes go? And Naomi wrote me, even before I wrote her, she wrote me and she said, look, Amazon is not a reputable place to buy NMN. And I don't want people to go up there and buy it. And I said, really? So I went up to the product that I'd been ordering, and there was ironically, a new post from like a couple weeks prior to last week. And I hadn't seen this, review. Why would I go up and check reviews? I'm just taking the stuff and going about my life. And this guy took his bottle of NMN Max, it's called. That's the company. I have no problem sharing that with you. I would never want anyone else to order from him. NMN Max, he took it to a lab, and he says, I live in Mainz, Germany, and there's a lab here, and they tested it, and this is not real NMN. So I called the lab, and I'm like, did you really test this? And they're like, yes, it's not NMN. And they were as frustrated as I was. Then I had a chat session with Amazon, and I said, do you realize you're labeling a product NMN that people are buying and taking, and you list all these benefits on your page, on your platform, on Amazon? Like, they list all these, which they're not allowed to do, come to find out, even in Germany, to list all these benefits, because you're not supposed to be selling it as a nutritional product because it's not approved or regulated as such. So, and they're like, oh, they plead ignorance. They plead the guy in the chat window is telling me, oh, we didn't even we don't post this ourselves. This is done through a Chinese company. I'm like, well, where'd you source it? Where did it come from? I would like to contact them and confront them myself with these lab results. And they said it's a company called AFEGA in Switzerland, which right away didn't add up, because why would a Chinese company be shipping to Switzerland and then to Germany? I couldn't understand the connection. And then I look up AFEGA, and it's a research group in Switzerland that works with different scientists, they say, in France and Austria, Germany. So I didn't really understand the connection. So I call them. They had a phone number. And Peter Niehecke, some people say Niehecke, but Peter, sorry, Peter, I asked you how to pronounce it, and I'm probably butchering the name. I said, Amazon says you sell NMN Max. He said, I never heard of it. We sell AFEGA. We are AFEGA. We're a research group. We sell NMN that we have in excess from, and we also sell tests, and people that share the tests with us, we put them in our research group. So I say, okay, that's interesting. That's great. Maybe I'm interested in that. But in the meantime, do you know anything about NMN Max? No, we are not involved with that. We do not sell that. We sell on Amazon, but you have to go look for us, and we're a lot more expensive than most companies. So, we're doing something differently. So I said, okay. So I go back to Amazon and I say, you're selling this fake thing. And they say, and this is not really the source. Who is the source? Because I spoke to them. Then they gave me another name of a company in China, which, okay, that makes more sense, but no contact info. So at this point in time, I'm just resigned to stop taking NMN Max completely and figure something else out and try to get back on the NMN train, because from October to December, I was really loving life. Even though I was not discontent now, I really wanted that, really wanted that juice of energy. And I asked Naomi about if she'd heard of AFEGA. Now, she said, quite frankly and honestly, and I discussed this with Peter, she said, stay away. The guy's an astrologist, he's just, and when I spoke to him about this, it made a lot more sense, both what she was saying and then his explanation. He is an astrologist, but he actually debunked a lot of myths of astrology. He studied science at the University of Freiburg in Germany, mathematics, physics, and psychology. So he's actually quite a science. He has a doctorate. It happened to be written on based on astrology, but he studies other fields, and he actually does a lot more debunking of astrology. But the kinds of astrology that he studies were pioneered from people like Hans Bieber, and Kepler and Weizsäcker, very qualified people. And we even had a conversation about quantum physics that was fascinating. So I could tell you Peter Nahicki is not some kind of nut. He's actually a guy in his early 70s, very curious, like many people in the scientific community are, about this anti-aging breakthroughs going on at Harvard. So this is where it gets really, really interesting. It turns out that both, and David Sinclair has alluded to this, that privately, top credible scientists and biochemists are extremely interested in following these research, and in many cases, actually, they're taking the NMN supplements themselves. But they will not associate themselves with it by name because they don't want to hurt their own credibility, because most of this stuff is still not regulated or considered actual scientific evidence or proof that we can slow down aging and actually reverse some of the results or boost our energy levels or et cetera, or look younger. This creates this sort of magic bullet fountain of youth myth that people just in the science community don't want to be involved with. However, enough of them know enough about the research that's actually gone on at David Sinclair's lab that they're actually themselves a part of AFEGA and a part of taking supplements from different sources that are reputable, that do actually sell NMN, like DoNotAge.org, which is another good source, a safe source as far as all the information that I have, and also recommended by my friend Naomi Kirby. So, and also a little bit less money, although AFEGA just lowered their prices. So their pricing is very competitive if you live in Europe or even outside Europe. But there are other sources. I'm not just telling you, hey, buy that. I did get a discount of 20% for new AFEGA customers. So if you want that, it's in the description, but that's totally up to you. It's not the purpose of this video. It's just a sidebar of running a channel and saying, okay, I negotiated a discount, yes. And it's down there. Do it as you wish. And if you don't want to go through them, you can get a discount for DoNotAge by contacting Naomi. There's links up on the Dr. David Sinclair fan page. Now, he's not involved with that fan page. That's an independent people, a fan page that follow the science and follow him. But it's a great group and it's a great source of information to stay informed on this anti-aging movement. And Naomi has not steered me wrong yet. So I highly recommend it. Now, what did I do? I ordered from AFEGA because I'm in Germany. Switzerland's not that far away. And I had a great conversation with Peter. So I decided to bite the bullet and get off the NMN Max, stop taking it immediately when I found out. And a few days later, I received my NMN. But I went further than that. I contacted Dr. Wendler at the lab here in Mainz because, as I said, I also live in Mainz where this lab is located. And I took a sample. I said, will you test another sample for me? And he said, sure, for 140 euros, which I ultimately got AFEGA to pay for, which was pretty cool. And I took it and it came back over 99% pure. So the purity was 99.1. They run a slightly different test, I was told, than they do in the States. In the States, they came out at 99.7% pure. Anything over 99 is very pure NMN. And I take it as a powder under my tongue. But there are pill forms, but sublingually, which is when you take a little bit under the tongue. I take my resveratrol with some yogurt, and I take I'm taking roughly half a gram, so about 500 milligrams of NMN, and I take a little bit less resveratrol. As I said, I get very sensitive to this stuff, and that's pretty much it. I take I take 500. I started taking some TMG again when I went back on NMN because it's recommended if you're taking NMN to take TMG, which is also basically a vitamin. It's biotin. I'll put the description for that in the description below. I'll put a link for that as well. TMG is something that I do take every other day. I actually cut the pills in half. I don't like taking the full amounts that even David Sinclair takes himself. I take a little less. I take some until I feel better, and then I kind of stop because I'm not really into all of this pill taking stuff or molecule taking stuff. But man, when it makes you feel so much better. And by the way, as soon as I got the NMN from AFEGA, and that night, I started feeling better. Like I feel my energy coming back. And now I've been on 1 week and you see me rambling like a fool. I could sit here and talk to you all day. I could work in the studio again all night. So my energy level is very high. My focus is very high. And athletically, I'm out there playing tennis almost every day. So I'm feeling great. So that's my story, my resveratrol NMN story, my story of labs. I'm sure I've left some stuff out. AFEGA, look them up. I'll put a link. I'll give the link for the Facebook group where you can find out more about DoNotAge. All the information I've gotten from them. Like I said, they may be a little cheaper now, but they're going to be priced somewhat similarly to AFEGA, which is more than the fake stuff. The real scary part is there are hundreds and hundreds of reviews of the fake NMNs on Amazon, which is frustrating to think that a lot of people, first of all, are taking something that's not NMN. We don't know what it is. Like you'd have to get all that stuff tested to find out what's in it. We just wanted to know, is there NMN in it in these tests that we did? But, and this is 99% pure. There's nothing else in it really, essentially. But what about these other things? You're taking a pill. I took it for 6 months and I still don't know what I was ingesting. So that's scary. So that's Naomi's argument of don't order from Amazon is 100% valid in my view. Listen to her. Do not order there. So the ones that seem reputable from all the information I have are the DoNotAge source. And again, from my own experience, AFEGA. And I have had no problems, and I think Peter's awesome. And he also has a hotline. He actually encourages you to call with questions when you get it, like how to take it, how you're feeling, because he really wants to collect information. So that's totally up to you. If you want to give information, that's totally up to you. But there are limits by law that asking for that information, they won't do that. But if you want to volunteer information about how you're feeling from it, of course, they collect that information as to at least get some subjective data built up along with, by the way, I also got tests. So I forgot to mention EpiAge. I got these from Peter Nahiki from AFEGA as well, but you can order them, I guess, direct from EpiAge as well. I sent away my saliva sample, so in a couple months I'll make another video about this topic, about EpiAge, and we'll see if there's any biological age. They measure your biological age. Again, more cool science, but I decided to take part in that. And myself giving feedback to Peter, I'm doing that myself because, I'm happy I finally got back on track. I have to say again, thank you, Naomi Curry. I encourage you to go to that Facebook group, David Sinclair fans. I want to thank David Sinclair, Harvard University, AFEGA Research Group, DoNotAge, a shout out to them, Peter Nahiki, shout out to you, Wolfram Wendler at the Limbach Analytics. They're located all over Germany, but the lab that I went to work with is here in Mainz. Thank you so much, Dr. Wendler. You really helped me through this process, and he's just an awesome guy. Please don't bother him too much if you write to him or ask him. But I'm sure they'll test NMN for you. So that's what they do. They test things. They test compounds and molecules and what have you. So I want to thank you for watching. I'm going to continue this theme. I want to continue this story. It's been fascinating for me to go through. I'm sorry this video is so long, but it's been a long journey that, over the past couple of years. And I'm not recommending anything. I'm just telling you my story. I was feeling old. I was feeling run down. I was looking old. Now I'm feeling better. I'm more focused. And I will say that there have been studies about NMN and resveratrol, and as far as are they safe for humans? And in those human trials, that portion, which is like step one, is this safe? Okay, we see the improvements in cells and mice, but is it safe to test on humans? And it has been deemed safe in multiple tests. So that's cool. Now, whether it's effective, this takes a long time. So we're at the early part of the curve. It may take 20 years. I'm not going to wait around till I'm 76 when I already feel better with resveratrol and NMN. It's enough for me to know they're safe. That's where my head is at. Where you're at is going to depend on your risk reward, scenario, where you feel. Do you feel run down? Do you feel like you want to try something different? I did. It's been paying off for me. Hopefully there's no downsides that crop up, but at the moment, it's definitely the reward for me personally has been worth it. Your journey is going to, make that in the comments, and let me know how it goes if you do try something, and let Peter know, because I know if he'd like to know whether you buy from him or not. I'm sure he'd love to hear from you as well at AFEGA, because they really are collecting a lot of information in Switzerland as far as this topic goes. So again, thanks for watching. I'll catch you next time. Bye.